Hey guys, welcome back to the Setting Up for Functional Isometrics tutorial. This is part 2 today, where we're going to be covering how to utilise the lifting strap for the freedom of strength variation of the Superhuman Protocol, but also to cover a couple of different exercises and substitutes that you might be putting within your program. Now, within part 1, we obviously covered how to set up the functional isometrics utilising a power rack or a squat rack. But today, like I said, it's going to be focused on the strap. So if you haven't already, I would strongly advise that you purchase one of these Forklift lifting straps. They're available on Amazon, they're about 15 quid. Basically, it has 3 predetermined loop positions, which allow for the adjustment of the 3 stages of range of motion that you'll need within a lot of the exercises. On top of that, it also has a protective kind of sheath that covers your hands against a lot of this coarse material that you tend to find whenever you're using a fixed strap. Whether you've got one of these or not, as long as it is fixed and it will not snap, then you can actually utilise any fixed resistance. A lot of people like to use towels when they're doing isometrics, and this tutorial will stand for any kind of strap that you use. So it's not specific to this strap, it's specific to any isometric exercise. Now, there's 2 main points that you have to take into account, okay, which is hand placement and foot placement. You're going to be exerting the force into the ground, but you're actually going to be fighting against yourself and that fixed resistance. So ultimately, you need to make sure that your body is in the right position to maximise your force. Now, I see a lot of people standing on towels and, grabbing them in certain ways, which is great, but you've got to remember that the limiter of the amount of force you can produce is based off your weakest position. And within a lot of these exercises, things like your grip are going to determine how much force you can actually produce. And ultimately, with isometric exercises, the goal is to maximise force production, nothing else. So when we're holding onto towels that are incredibly thick and our grip is limiting how much force we can produce, we think we're working hard, but we're not actually getting the intensity that we need. Another reason why I love this strap is you can loop your hand in, so you essentially have a handle, or you can loop your hand in and wrap your hand around it, and you can actually trap it in place, kind of like you would a lifting strap if you were in the gym. And then the other point we have to take into account is the strap placement relative to the foot. You do not want to stand on the strap itself, okay, under the midline of your foot. And I'll explain why. Mainly, whenever we execute a movement, okay, we need to take into account that that force needs to be applied in a perpendicular position to the ground. We want it to be going up in a straight line. If you are holding onto the towel on the outside of your feet, okay, when you apply the force actually goes in at a slight angle and then up because of the position of your hands, which means your ankle eversion and inversion strength is going to determine how much force, again, your body will produce. So a lot of people put themselves in isometric positions with really, really thick handles and the incorrect foot position, think that they're working really, really hard, but their body is actually limiting the amount of force it will put out. You've got to remember, strength is a balance between excitation and neural inhibition, and your body will protect yourself at all costs unless you're in the right position. One of the cues that we tend to use from the weightlifting world is to trust your skeleton. Your skeleton is designed to tolerate a huge amount of force, so we want to essentially position this strap in line with our axial skeleton. And all we do here is we start with the foot placement. Regardless of whether or not it's a towel, this strap, whether you're going to put your foot through the loophole for exercises like the deadlift, or whether it's going to be on the strap itself, you want that strap to be running under the heel, okay? So as you can see from the side here, you want it to be running under the heel, or as close to as possible. Then, when I apply force, it's going to stay anchored to the ground. If I am over the arch of my foot, as I apply force, my foot's going to move from side to side, it's going to roll one way and the other. You don't want that, because again, your body will just down-regulate the amount of force it can produce. You want your foot to be directly over the strap with the strap running underneath your heel. Again, once you do this, no amount of force is going to move your foot, because again, your skeleton is designed to tolerate way more force than your skeletal muscle can actually produce. Okay, so there's one final thing that I want to talk about when it comes to performing the functional isometrics with a fixed strap, and it's something that a lot of people don't talk about. Okay, so one final thing I want to stress about the functional isometric exercises, particularly the ones that involve this kind of strap or a towel or anything like that, is the management of your hand position. Now, I won't bore you with too much of the science, but essentially the body is particularly sensitive to sharp pain sensations, which is essentially things like cuts, but also scratches and burns and that type of thing. When it comes to using this strap, you want to make sure that your hand is in the right position, not to necessarily protect yourself from injury, because we know that injury risk is relatively low in comparison to other exercises when it's an isometric training. But we want to manage the position of the strap on your hand to make sure, again, that you can maximise force. If your body senses that there's any element of pain within a movement, it will just down-regulate. So let's say we've taken our hand into the strap itself, okay, and we haven't got enough range of motion from just holding onto the loop. So we have to loop our hand round the strap. Okay, now as you can see here, I want you to focus on making sure that the loop goes round the palm and as close to the wrist as possible. What you do not want is this. Okay, it's a very, very subtle change, but here I'm applying a lot of the tension around my fingers. So as soon as I pull on that, I'm going to get this compression in my hand itself, and it's not going to be very comfortable. So again, my body will just down-regulate how much force I can produce. If, however, like I said, I can get it either on my wrist, like this, okay, so that my fingers are completely free and it's just set in position around my wrist and my hand, or I can set it around my wrist and then loop it back around my wrist again. Again, just play around with the position that it's in, but in this position, there is virtually no force going through my hand. So I can perform any kind of variation of an isometric exercise. So again, just make sure that the strap is running underneath my heel. I can perform let's say a single arm bent over row, and I can essentially let go with my fingers and just pull with my lats, because all the pressure there is going through my wrist. Because all the pressure there is going through my stacked joint position, it's not going through my hand. So my fingers are actually relatively free. So there you have it, the 3 methods of setting up functional isometrics. Part 1, power rack and setting up the strap for things like the deadlift. And part 2, how to utilise the straps themselves. Main points from today is to make sure that the strap runs under the heel, trust your skeleton more than your muscles, and number 2, make sure that your hand placement is as close to the wrist as possible, mitigating any pressure that is placed on your fingers. Hope you enjoy, crack on with the programme, and as always, let us know how you do.